Welcome to Planet Pluto.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. Whoop, whoop. Tango, tango, tango. Hey, hey. What's happening, blacks? How you guys doing out there? Y'all know who it is, right? It's me, your homegirl, Ladosha Wright, a.k.a. Key Lolo, coming to you live and direct. Not from the boogie down, no. From Cleveland, Ohio, where it's raining, but it's not raining men. It's raining a podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, my BMF, my PNC, the one and only. There she is right there, the hair oracle, aka Cheryl Morrow. What's up, Cheryl? How's it going?
What's up? What's up?
What's that? Does that t-shirt say black? Does that t-shirt say black? What's happening, blacks? What's happening, blacks? What's happening? What's happening? It's so nice to see everybody is coming on through. Yes. We're about, I think we're like 80. I think we're 86. We're moving on up. 86 episodes in. So this particular podcast is very, very, I'm talking about, you know how you say, you said about every podcast. I know. But for real, Cheryl, this is the one. This the one that I've been waiting. This is the reason why I really wanted to get into this podcast for licensed professionals. In case you guys are new and you're wondering, hey, what is this I've scrolled upon? You have just landed on planet Pluto Pseudo. This particular podcast is specifically for licensed beauty and barber professionals in the industry. We're talking about cosmetologists, natural hairstylists, nail techs, estheticians, barbers, colorists, healthy hair experts, hair coaches, salon owners, barbershop owners. This is the podcast for you. And what do we do here? We bust up all the pseudoisms that somehow encroached its way into our industry, and it's finding its way into the lexicon, the nomenclature, the vocabulary, all the stuff we're going to talk about.
All of it.
Tonight is what it's about. And as a licensed cosmetologist, I just want to let you know, I'm like Queen Latifah, Selena. I've had it up to here. And I can't, I'm like, remember Popeye? Anybody remember Popeye? Popeye would say, that's all I can stand.
And I can't stand no more.
That's why you my motherfucker. Who can finish that sentence? I would say it again. That's all I can stand.
And I can't stand no more.
Did you hear what he said? Stands no more. We can't stand no more of what is about. This is happening in the barber, particularly the beauty industry. But the barber industry, they might be coming after you too. Okay, so this podcast, it's deep. It's going to be deep for me, and I've been waiting to have it. And next week, we're going to have an expert to come on and clear up some of my anxiety, or what you call it, my neurosis. What is it about this that's bothering me? We're going to find out tonight. And so welcome everybody on Facebook. Welcome everybody, of course, the YouTube family. I see you, LB, WK. We got our virtual co-host is in the chat. WK is rocking it out with us. I see you, Selena. It's so nice to see you. Everybody on Instagram. Hey, Sunshine Danielle, how you doing? Looking good over here on Instagram. We're so glad to have you guys rock it out with us over on IG. Then, of course, Twitch. Last week we had some Twitch family, come on through. So welcome, Twitch family. It's so nice to have you. Again, we are talking about the psychosis. The psychosis of the natural hair movement. Now, this gonna be a little bit deep, so we ain't gonna play around. We ain't gonna play around too much. But before we play around too much, we kind of forgot Mother's Day last week.
We did.
And we shame on us. I just read, and the only reason why I'm saying it because y'all know I'm a grandmother, right?
Mama, but yeah, I do know what you mean.
Yeah, well, we should have said Happy Mother's Day. I think Weekday or LaWanda, somebody was like, say Happy Mother's Day, but I was just so taking notes on Mr. Latif. Mr. Latif dropped some jewels that I have been using. I don't know if you guys remember some of the stuff. I encourage you guys to go back and rewatch our podcast, especially those of us in the industry. You're wondering why you're struggling with customers, then please go back and watch that because he dropped some jewels, especially if you're trying to grow your audience on social media. I see you, Theo. How's the wife to be doing? I hope everything is going good. I can't wait to, see you in real life. We're trying to come over to San Diego sometime soon. All right.
That brother Theo him and I going to host a fete de jour.
All right, Theo, we're going to try to, come on down and party hardy. So we missed Mother's Day. So right quick, before we hop into the topic, which is about the psychosis of the natural hair movement. Now, tonight is going to be deep, but we got to go there. And I know tonight I'm going to go out and put it out there that I'm probably going to say some things that's wrong, but I need to express myself because I work in the industry. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I do have a glimpse into that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But because I missed Mother's Day.
You hair coach, don't you? You hair coach, right? You hair coach, right? You do hair coaching, right?
I do hair coaching, but I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So, I got to stay in my lane. I ain't going to try to, understand, but we're going to talk about that. But I just got to do something that all grandmothers do, you know what I'm saying? Because I decided, I asked CJ, is it okay if I just show my grandpooba? That's what I call my granddaughter. Her name is Kennedy Rose. And so I just want to share a little Kennedy Rose picture with everybody and to say happy belated Mother's Day because I forgot to do it last week. And I posted her on Facebook and got a lot of, oh, go on, grandma. So I call myself Big Mom. So she calls me Big. Well, she can't talk now. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Okay. So anywho, so here, let me introduce y'all to my little Kennedy Rose. Here she is. There she is. There's my little grandpooba. Y'all see she look like me, right? Y'all better say yes in the chat. I don't want to hear nothing like that. She look just like her big mama. Don't talk about the parents. Just let me have it for 2 seconds, okay? So there is my little grandpooba. Let me give her just a little grandma round of applause. There she is right there. There she is now. She's 7 months old, and I call Cheryl, right? Because I babysit her on Monday. So I call Cheryl, like, oh my God, Cheryl, you was not gonna believe this. This little girl is trying to walk at 7. Now, y'all, I don't know about no 7-month-old babies trying to walk. And Cheryl, like, girl, leave that baby alone. I said, she can't be walking. She got to crawl. She got to get her legs strong. So Cheryl, like, leave the baby alone and let her try to walk. I'm like, she's trying to pull up on stuff, and I just didn't. Now, y'all know Cheryl ain't got no kids, right? That's my neurosis. I don't want to listen to Cheryl because she ain't got no kids. She can't tell me nothing. I like, you ain't got no kids. You don't know about this. She like, Kilolo. You can't stop the baby from walking. Let the baby walk, right? So y'all know I hung up on Cheryl like, whatever. Whatever, Cheryl. Cheryl always made me eat crow like every day. So I hung up the phone for Cheryl. Cheryl like, leave that baby alone. You can't stop her from walking. And so I recorded her, and sure enough, do you know she pulled up on that thing and she started? I was like, oh my God, Cheryl was right. And I sent it to Cheryl, didn't I, Cheryl? I said, oh my God.
Yes, like get out of her movie, man. Get out of
I
her
don't know,
space.
why do grandparents do that? I just never seen a 7-month-old baby, try to walk, and people are like, oh, mine's did. I had some knucklehead kids. It took them a long time to learn. They was at 1 year old trying to walk. Okay, there she is again. That's my little grandpoopa, and she's real chunky like that in real life, So she's real chunky and sweet. But now she's trying to walk, and but she didn't have walking shoes on. Like she needs some baby shoes. And sure,
Those
like, you gonna get her some baby shoes, but she gonna walk. And I just did not want to accept that this baby is trying. And she literally, I'm not making this up. This baby will probably walk, and she's very rambunctious. She likes to crawl. She doesn't want to be held. Anybody got a baby like that, a granddaughter like that, or a grandson that's just very rambunctious and like, get off me. She
Sure
doesn't.
is. But then we didn't I give you the little what do they call it? The little GIF, Curious George.
No, you got to send it to me.
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did? Okay. So,
Yeah.
all right, I got to check. I get so many messages, but sure be getting me together, y'all. So I just wanted to say happy Mother's Day. If you're a grandmother, I just went a little overboard.
Big
Y'all know
mama.
I got my whole phone ain't nothing but baby pictures. I be doing like, y'all want to see my
Yeah.
granddaughter? My cousin would be like, not really. I'd be like, okay.
But
All right. So Cheryl was right. Babies can walk at 7 months. I just struggled with that. I just struggled with that. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's hop into the topic. And again, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers and grandmothers. I was just a little excited to have Mr. Latif on last week. So we're going to get into this topic today. It's called the psychosis of the natural hair movement. Now, before we just go delve into it, can you explain to us, Cheryl, what is I'm gonna get the AI thing while I look it up, but psychosis, because when I typed this, Cheryl called me up like, Lolo, you crazy in the son of a bee,
oh my God, it
but
was so.
it's no other way to say it. Something is making our sisters and brothers in this natural, and this happens to cosmetologists too. You know what I'm saying? It's making us crazy. Okay. So sure, explain psychosis. I'm gonna look it up, and so they can understand why we went really, like psychotic on them with the psychosis. Did that make any sense?
Like,
Ladosha crazy.
from my understanding, there could be psychosis is an umbrella.
Okay.
It's not really a diagnosis, in terms of what, in specifics, right? But in terms of how we are going to use it this evening is going to peel out some various specific types of psychosis.
And I'm gonna pull up because I want all of us on the same page about why I chose the word psychosis, okay, for this natural hair community and our industry in general. I chose the natural hair community because they are being targeted. If you are specializing in natural hair, then you are being targeted under this new thing called psychotherapy, which I'm very concerned about this. Okay. So psychosis is a mental health condition, is a condition characterized by a loss of touch with reality. And I'm just going to stop right. Of course, it involves the combination of symptoms that, cause significant distress, impairment, and daily functioning. And this is what we are seeing in this natural hair community with these people who have been indoctrinated, ill-informed, misguided, you name it, when it comes to how this natural hair responds to the environment. So so that is why I chose the word psychosis, because it's a loss of touch with reality, and they are under attack. And to me, natural hairstylists and cosmetologists are very vulnerable right now because the income is being challenged with this. A lot of cosmetologists aren't even working in the industry anymore.
Oh yeah.
Because they just couldn't get with like what the hell is happening. Some of them folded and gave in too, right? They just went along with the program. Well, everybody doing natural hair, so I guess I'm gonna do natural hair. Oh, everybody getting away from chemicals. I'm gonna get away from chemicals. Not me. That's why I said I just couldn't believe that a lot of cosmetologists and barbers they fell for the pseudo isms, if you will, that the natural hair movement actually was stealing. They were taking terms from the cosmetology professional world, like porosity, you know, even this here, this psychotherapy, and what's some other terminology that they were over processed, you know, this whole protein thing, so they were coming into the industry, stealing and borrowing some of the lexicon and the definitions, or as Cheryl likes to call them, glossary terms. Like pH is another one. You hear this big thing on pH, and this hair is quote unquote natural. So they have no business using these types of terminologies out of context. Okay. Then also, Cheryl pointed out to us, if you've been following us for a while, that the natural hair movement was actually an anti-chemical movement. And then last Monday, she went extra hard, right? When she said that the natural hair movement is trying to alter hair naturally with no shame, but then they want to shame cosmetologists for wanting to use chemicals to alter it. So Cheryl's been really good at giving us something to think about. And so tonight, for the licensed professionals and all of our hair aficionados, this is dedicated to you all, because they're coming after us, because I'm one of y'all. The encroachment is real. We're going to get into it a whole lot more, and we want you guys to be involved and share with us. But before we do that, I would like to send the condolences to Yate regarding her dad. So Yate, we love you. I don't know if you had your services for your dad, but if anything that we could do here for you, you do know that Cheryl and I, we are here for you 100%. I wanted to reach out, but I know you were probably busy with things. So, but we're here for you. We love you. I'm sure everybody in the chat, is have you have their condolences. So, and I know your dad, just like you said, meant the world to you. You guys were just getting to know each other, and that's what happened with me and my dad. We got really close towards the end, but I feel like I got all 50 years. I got. I'm saying, at the time, but anywho, so yes, Yate. So sure, I'm going to play a little bootleg commercial that we got, that I kind of put together, because I see we got a lot of people are in the chat. So yeah, I see this is building pretty good. I changed the algorithms. You see, I did that, Cheryl. So let me just play the commercial, because I see we got some. I'm sorry, the SEO thing. I didn't change no algorithm. So like, you ain't changed. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let me show a little commercial for those who are just kind of new and like, what the heck is going on? Okay, here we go. The psychosis of the natural hair community. Yeah, we're going there tonight. We are concerned about this community's misunderstanding of how Afro hair responds to things such as water, chemicals. Yes, they're even concerned about this thing called shrinkage, also styling tools. Heat is definitely something, manipulation such as the locks. This community is even willing to entertain the thought of merging mental health with a salon visit to understand what this hair does when it responds to the environment. Now, this is very, very concerning to us here on the Afro Hair Science YouTube channel. All right. So that is where we're at. So the psychosis of the natural hair community right now, where we're at is we're seeing an aggressive push to merge certain aspects or components or bullet points uh, from mental health professionals for natural hairstylists, cosmetologists, hairstylists, colorists, barbers to take some of these bullet points and use them to help customers who are struggling mentally with their hair. And we have something, called hair coaching, and Cheryl's going to go a little bit more into that. But can we just start off just right there, Cheryl? We're going to get them right into it. In your opinion, what is the concern about just the notion of taking certain bullet points or extrapolations or whatever from psychology or something clinical or therapeutic mentally and merging it in the world of professional salon visits? What the result is to get the customer to understand their concerns about their hair.
Mm-hmm. Um, well, I'm going to say our concern,
Mm-hmm.
and as it should be.
Oh, and
Uh,
drop y'all concerns too if you have any in the chat, please.
yeah, right. That we, behind the chair, zero in, or as we are doing the consultation, that we are in front of the chair, that we zero in on things that the client can do under their own assistance with your skill set and what falls under your license, right? And to and it's not that hairstylists should not have partners or even collaborators in other industries, because you very well should. And I also encourage professionals, no matter what type of styling you do, have some familiar entry level of what to do and what not to do in mental health cases, right? And so we want to focus on the distortions and conflictions and misalignments that a client has with their hair, right? That is our concern, because that's how we can actually help them. But when it is in conjunction with other emotional imbalances that deal with other familia kind of abuses or other things that they are connected to emotionally, that is when we should hand the ball off to deal with those emotional wounds, and to not hold them hostage in the salon environment to talk about those things.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, the other, from my perspective, okay. I'm just gonna piggyback off of Cheryl. It's no big secret. I got my little book here. If you haven't bought my book, it's available. You can buy it through us here on the Afro Hair Science YouTube channel. It's What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon. And I tell you, it's time for a new conversation about hair. So it's no big secret that my career as a cosmetologist was fueled from mental health. But one of the things that I did, I made sure I did. And I'm gonna say this to Theo, because I see you, Theo, going off. I see you, Theo. Come through, Theo. That's why we got it going out to San Diego, because he gets it. Is my career was fueled as a cosmetologist from me working in mental health. But one of the things that I intuitively, like, I knew this from a personal, but then professionally, right? Here I am. I'm going to help these women with their hair, understand their hair, but I don't have a cosmetology license. Now, do you think I had any business talking to these women about their hair without that cosmetology license? Yes or no? I want y'all to be honest. Come on, come through. We ain't got all day. Tell the truth. Do you think that me, I have my little degree and, my little paper, I'm a social scientist and all this other stuff, okay? Graduated deans. I'm going to put all of that out there, okay? Right? But I see these women that, because I'm working with parenting and anger management. And what I'm seeing is that this hair is a underlying issue to a lot of, we're just gonna say social ills for lack of time, okay? So I want to know in the chat, drop yes or no. Do I have any business talking to those women about their hair issues, their mental health, with their hair without that cosmetology license? So we're gonna wait a few minutes, Cheryl, and see what do they say.
I'm gonna just say hell no.
Hell no. All right. All right. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. You will come on, Theo. Now, these are cosmetologists responding. Ladosha, just because you have a degree, you ain't got no business talking to people who are having issues with their hair mentally and physically. They need to be in a hair salon. So what did I do, Theo? I took my monkey A double crooked letter to cosmetology school and got a cosmetology license because, first of all, how are we going to work in mental health and not advocate for what we advocating for?
Absolutely.
That would have just been crazy. Well, wait a minute, Miss Ladosha. How are you talking to me about hair as a quasi clinician? Because I don't have a LISW. See what I'm saying? You gotta be have a bona fides to do this stuff, right? But I'm in there, but I'm not in there. So that to me was just the craziest thing. Why would I be talking to these people about their hair problems without going to cosmetology school to understand what do licensed cosmetologists say to people who have issues about what? Not combing, not doing, not understanding, wanting to do their own hair, wanting to fix their own hair, wanting to cut their own hair. What is this industry offering? And what I can tell you is they offering a lot that a clinician can never, ever, ever offer. Cheryl, your turn. I'm go ahead and put it out there. Do you think a clinician and segue in the hair culture, because I got your little bullet points here too, okay?
Okay. Well, let me just say this. Because of the white coat effect. The white coat effect I coined because, of course, clients in this Western culture, we are taught to respect the DR dot, all right? Capital DR dot, doctor.
Okay.
And so, and as you know, I've been very critical of dermatologists. So I am quite critical, not because I'm critical of their particular field, but I am critical about my own, right? And my level and years of study. But there is, I think, a conversation with professionals that needs to happen, and not to the point where you're selling them a skill set that is not appropriate. Okay. Mm-hmm. And because we are consumer advocates, okay, and we respect, our creed. We respect our level of care, right? And so we are always advocating, no matter where our clients go, because there's one thing that remains to be true. They are probably more open and honest in a light, airy, fairy environment like the salon and barbershop is. It is very comforting, right? Mm-hmm. And so they may be more forthcoming. But with that more forthcoming, we need to be able to have the best skill we could ever obtain is listening. And listen to that and then partner when we know that what is after we have fixed the cosmetic distortion, the cosmetic confliction, right? That is keeping them from loving their hair and feeling comfortable with their self-worth and their self-image and persona, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have obtained the rightful skills to accomplish their desired to where they feel good about walking out of the door going to work. That's our job. And when we feel that those particular things have been done and those are solidified and they're working, and if the wounds are a little deeper, we are respecting the other discipline. But we want to make sure that that discipline is respecting us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. I got you.
So, yeah. And that is important because that way the customer and client is covered 360.
360. Okay. Esther, our de facto producer, is in the house. So let's make sure we show her some love. And don't forget, she is here also on YouTube. So check out our de facto producer, Miss Esther, is in the chat. Holla, holla, holla. All right. So she says, if you're offering advice as a friend, no license is needed. That's true. Okay. But as a professional, yes, you absolutely need the professional. I love you, Esther. Did you hear what she said? Hair, hair knowledge. Sure. Let me show a clip. And I want you to just kind of let's piggyback off of the de facto producer because she said hair knowledge. Because you're gonna because now we're gonna we're gonna get us an actual clinician that's gonna come in and let us know where could these lines be crossed. Okay, so let me just play a clip, and I want you to piggyback off of her, and as it relates to why a clinician cannot offer quote unquote, as Esther put it so eloquently, which is why I love her so much. She said hair knowledge. So let me just show a clip. And this is a young lady. She's doing her thing. She's doing a salon consultation. Here we go.
Not as like tight and coily. Okay, perfect. And my mom did my last one, and she like trimmed like it wasn't really a trim, but she like cut dead ends, like stringy ends when she did it. Okay. Around Christmas.
Once we wash your hair, I'll be able to really see what's going on texturally.
Okay.
And then I'll be able to kind of make my assumptions on like recommendations on what should go next. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think that your hair is healthy. Okay. I would try to refrain from some of these ponytails and protective styles, giving it a break, because I do see some hair loss that's taking place here. Yeah. Like if you look in here, you could see like the white bulbs, which means that it's being pulled too tight. Okay. So you just kind of want to be careful with this. Okay. And then I would recommend seeing a dermatologist to kind of figure out if you. Okay. All right, perfect. So we're gonna get you shampooed. Okay. Clarified.
Okay. So she's doing her job. So what now? I didn't show the whole because it was long. So she comes in, we see this a lot. People will come in with hair like that and swear that their hair is what, Cheryl?
Damaged.
God. I love you, Cheryl. I love you. They will swear up and down something is wrong with that hair. Now, I'm not a clinician, so I'm gonna stay in my lane. Okay, and I'm not hating on clinicians. I'm not hating. I love them. I love mental health. Okay, what could a clinician or a psychologist or whoever would be qualified to help her? Because she sweared up and down something wrong with my hair. The lady like, well, just let me just hear you out. What could that clinician have done with some, as Esther put it, hair knowledge to help that lady out? Could she or could they not? Explain where that is at, and then segue into your hair coaching just a little bit.
Right. Well, two things. That the woman in the video, of course, I don't know if she was as actively listening as she should have, right? But when you are, trying to be, and I find that this is one of the mistakes of these consultations, they do want to seem smarter than the client. But I want every every hair coach to know you are never smarter than the person that has the hair on their head. You're never as smart as they are.
Even if you're a psychiatrist, a LISW or LSW.
Right. But we assume these authority positions because we have the DR, we have the PhD, we have the master's, and we have the cosmetology license. That person, your job is to extract as much as their information. Now, I do know there are the cases where I would probably say 90% of them that do come in, there's nothing wrong. They just they feel uncomfortable because they really actually want you to know they don't know what to do. And so that usually is where the Afro dysmorphia is coming. Now, let me just say this to you. The reason why the clinician is inappropriate at this point, because of course, the clinician is dealing with it either from a psychological aspect or an emotional aspect. And most of the things since Black people have been in this country, in the Western world, we have what we call cosmetic traumas. Okay.
And that means, what does that mean?
That means that Black people have adapted to standards and practices of beauty that are not natural to us. And so because of the power dynamics in classism, we have maladapted, right? And so that and maladapting causes Afro dysmorphia, because even though my hair is curly, I have to act like it's straight. And then that causes insecurity and anxiety. It causes stress, okay? And that we begin to maladjust, which causes imbalances in how we are explaining ourselves, how we communicate with each other, how we communicate with professionals such as a clinician or a psychologist.
But could a clinician not assess from that?
Well, they don't have the language as the culture has evolved. So they don't know the terms of Afro dysmorphia. They don't know about mischromanthropy. They wouldn't know Afrophobia. They wouldn't know of texturism, right? And so they wouldn't know these terms because these terms are created by professionals within cosmetology. And they think that everything they've learned is now in a medical book in terms of psychiatry or psychology. And the language of and even though they may go to get and obtain a natural hair license or whatever the case may be, but their lexicon and the words they use will not evoke a different navigation system so they can get deeper into the cosmetic experiences that a person is telling you about. So that they won't have that language. They'll have the YouTube University or the natural hair care language. And then they'll blend and infuse those colloquialisms with their clinician psychology kind of lexicon too. And they won't go together.
Now I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, you are sure y'all the only people out here that's picking on these people. They just trying to help the industry out. I want to show a clip of a video because we're not the only cosmetologists. We see what these people are doing, and I'm just here to say this is a no-no. You can't. I know your heart. You mean well, like how your mother said.
Absolutely.
Bless her heart. They mean well, but this is a no-no. So I just want to show another little clip of a young lady who sees what we see in a different way, and she knows, like I said, and sure, we're saying it's time for a new conversation. So let's just hear what she's saying, okay? Because we're not the only ones. Here she goes.
Yeah. So that's why, like, this year, like, I want to have more conversations around, like, health and wellness, because we can't just talk about hair. I've been saying this for years. We can't just talk about hair without talking about health and wellness. We can't talk about skin without talking about health and wellness. And the stuff that I'm starting to see more frequently in the salon, especially with women of color, is really bothering me about what's going on. You know, like the low iron situation, hair's falling out all around the hairline. Even the health of the scalp. Remember, we were just talking about that.
So she sees something too. And this is coming, and we're not picking. I don't want to make it single, because we have to embrace the natural hair community professional. They are professionals, whether some states have the license or not. They are our brethren, our sister, okay? But we still have to let them know where they're just like, dude, that ain't it, you know? And so she's seeing some things too. So what advice do you have for professionals like her? And we can all agree or disagree how a consultation should go. We're going to talk about that a little bit as we go into hair coaching. But give us a little bit more of your take or your feedback, you know, on what a professional could be doing or should or can do when they see things like what we're seeing. Because we're not the only cosmetologists. We see the exploitation. You have clinicians that are coming into the industry offering classes to professionals to give them bullet points from a clinical perspective to help the customers who's struggling with understanding their hair. And the reason why I say I'm concerned is because if you went to a cosmetology school, if there are any cosmetology instructors in the chat, please speak up. And I ain't trying to glamorize cosmetology. You can go for some improvement. But the truth of the matter is that when you go to cosmetology school, the first thing that they're going to teach you, they're going to go over, because they already got so much time, right? They're going to cover a little bit of cosmetology history. They are going to cover life skills. They're going to talk about what you need to do. They're going to talk about your professional image, and they're going to talk about what communication and consultation. They already teach you. So why are you going to pay somebody else outside? I'm not, like Cheryl said, we're not saying that we can't partner with people who are out of our industry to help us be better. But that mental health, no, dog. So Cheryl, what can professionals do when they see stuff, they hear stuff that they know, like the young lady said, I don't know, something just ain't right.
When you go into an emergency room or you go to a hospital, right? You can tell who is more of an experienced doctor, right? And what is that main element that makes a physician a attending physician, a lead physician amongst residents or first year official doctors, right? And the reason why they get boards is because they want to be judged by, by a group of their peers to make sure that they keep their skill sets sharpened. And so young women and young men, like the woman in the video you just showed, she is aware that there is some distortions. She is aware that there should be more knowledge applied. The problem is at the start, and I won't say problem because it's a negative, but I will say one of the things that she has needs to do is to compartmentalize what she's hearing, right? And when she hears something, she should immediately, or he should write them down. So I journal, and so I keep my clients. So I'm finishing up a a booklet and it's a decent short read so we can retain the information, right? Not the book. But in terms of a book called Clientales. So tales means stories, right? And so I go by each story. So I give you an example and what to look for and compartmentalize. And some of it, and nutrition is a whole nother section. You can't throw nutrition in there because that's a whole other topic. But you need to put details down of your client's conversation and to figure out, because one of the things that experts do, and I tell them to be a texture expert, your main weapon is your ears.
Okay.
Really figure out, what does she mean by that? Or what did he mean by that?
Is that where is that where these people who are outside of the industry feel like this is not a good word, but y'all know I'm from the ghetto, right? That they got one up on us? Because I can therapeutically, I can psychologically do that. A cosmetologist, all she could do is hair.
Well,
I'm being nasty. Y'all know I'm nitpicking, right? But go ahead. That's what I do. Okay.
Well, the next level is for her to turn the client around. And because she's the client when you have her looking in the mirror and you are there to get her demands and to fulfill them. When you turn her around, you are now quite a bit in control of the visit. And at that point,
you mean facing you, not the mirror.
Yeah.
Confession, I was guilty. That's why I went to the Afro Hair Science Summit, because Cheryl said, stop talking to the client through the mirror. Can y'all believe Kilo used to do that? Guilty.
And let me just say this, and I find that most of them do, because it's an uncomfortability. But once you learn in terms of how to take off the stylist hat and you got to put the authority hat on, because at this point, not that they're not just your client, but they do become your patient at that point, because they are looking for you to transform or transmute the experience to make them better, right? And so
patient, that's a strong word. Now, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, you said patient, because I'm sorry.
Well, because at that point you are giving them something that they're not paying you for. The client is usually some kind of parallel relationship. It's symbiotic. Patient, it becomes, you're the expert, and that they need to be in a, not subordinate, but they need to be able to understand that they need to listen. And there's a different relationship there, right? And so, but when you take wonderful young men and women like the video you just showed, they are aware that there's some missing and there's some gaps. But to fill them in, you have to be a superb listener to what they're saying, what they're not saying, and you have to ask questions.
In order to get to that resolve. Okay, now we're going to keep this conversation going. This chat is on fire. The people are in the building. We can't ask everybody. Cheryl's going to show you what you need to do right now, because I know y'all loving this. So go ahead, Cheryl. Show them what they need to do.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So Trish the Natural is agreeing with Esther. By all means, if you want to work in that hair salon in any capacity, you have got to get you a license, okay? Because Esther pointed out, it's the hair knowledge that's going to help that person, because the exploitation to me is coming in with a mitigated goal. Y'all know I'm not feeling this. So I want somebody to check me and tell me where I'm wrong at, because I could just be a little bit, player hating.
Right.
But you got the mitigated goal to take a person's mental let's just say, frustration, for lack of better words, with their hair. I don't like the way it feels. It's nappy. I can't do this. I can't. And you're going to try to use a clinical resolve or solution. A cosmetologist is going to tell you, until you actually teach that customer how to have that relationship with their hair, your psychotic conversation.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm wrong, I just tell me. I'm waiting for y'all. What's up, Free? Go, go ahead. They in the chat like, you're sure you're on the one. You're on the one. Okay.
Our job is to defrag the beauty process for them, and to get them to, I know this sounds drastic, but to not hurt themselves. And most of them are hurting themselves in the inner dialogue. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, it's coming out. Oh, it's damaged. Oh, it's this. It's thinning. Oh, it's on the floor. It's this and it's that, and it's this and it's that. And that's instability. But there is a reality in terms of, for us to be able to give them a cosmetic factual assessment.
But how is the consumer, right? They got the cosmetologist saying, well, just because you see some hair on the floor, it doesn't mean that you're going bald, right? You're one person. Help us license people out. You got Shaniqua on TikTok with 50 million likes, and you got, Habib over on YouTube, but, and it's telling them that means your hair is coming out. You need to buy some hair doobie grow hair stuff. How can us professionals, maybe, I know this could be the wrong word again, I need y'all to help me out tonight. How are we to compete with all of this disinformation? Because, Habib and them said use the wide tooth comb. And now here y'all come saying the teeth on the comb is too wide. So I'm not listening. Y'all listen to Habib.
And during your hair coaching, you have what we call a cosmetic map of experiences. And here we go again. You guys have to be comfortable in asking questions. And of course, the question is to get them to conclusions that where you want to steer them. Okay. And so the question is when did this start? So you can get them, their mind oriented to when this happened, right? And in her answer, she's either going to tell you a specific month, a specific season, a specific incident, a specific cataclysmic event. It will either be a diet change. There is in the information. Now, then you connect that with a physical act. You tell them, I want you to comb your hair in the morning, and I want to see what you get. Collect.
But what if she says, let's just play it out? Okay, we're going to role play. Okay.
Then at night, comb your hair and then collect it. And then we'll night bag, day bed, because of course you're up all day, right? In a 24-hour period. So you comb your hair at night. You say lots of hair comes out. Okay. And she's not at the hair salon yet for us to determine what's a lot and what not's a lot. So we're not there. But at night, if there's hair less or more, then that's additional information for a hair coach such as myself, right? And then that begins to reconvene, okay? So it can become real to her because she's got to see it. And she can't just tell you that her hair is coming. And so at that point, we do a process of elimination. Go ahead.
And that's the hair knowledge. Now, thank you, Trish. Because Trish, you feeling me. See, I know I ain't the only part, Trish, because I couldn't get it out. So this is what I'm saying. What exactly is the clinician? Thank you, Trish. Trish, I love you, Trish. Okay, hold on. What exactly is the clinician supposed to be instructing or training the cosmetologist on when the customer says, I can't comb my hair because I swear it's just gonna come out. So what would that clinician be saying that,
Well, I can, and I've worked as, besides psychologists, and I've been on panels and traveled book tours and with them. I think that their goal is to erase the anxiety, right? And to give them some language to walk themselves through emotionally, right? At that point, all customers, right, want results, and they want them physical. Yes. Okay, they want physical results. Now, you may have to fix on who's going to do that and get them some home training, and things of that nature. But it's a process, okay? And I don't make myself an authority on their life because their experiences is theirs. And so that is the question, the consistent questioning, right? So you can get to the deeper issue, is that they're just uncomfortable. Does it stem from childhood? And this is cosmetic hair knowledge. This is cosmetic hair consultation. I do not go into the connections, and I will ask about their family dynamic and how they grew up. And we'll just get into a large conversation, and I'll find out where they get the cosmetic distortion from and the improper expectations of their hair, and some of the shame and some of the imbalances. I get it. You're right. And so I do it to fix only the results as they are realistic and that they are in the wheelhouse of the person's skill set to do and duplicate things that we talk about at home, and to come back and to know that I am still present and I have notes, and then we have a chart and we have some kind of congruent and trajectory that we're going to have a chronological.
Actually see the results.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now I'm gonna play this clip because now it's about to get deep. Now, y'all, I'm going there. I'm gonna do it. Trish, hold my mirror now. Come on, y'all. Take all my cosmetologist, Torre. I want y'all to hold me back. Okay, hold me back. Okay. So now, it's a point. Okay. Now the clinician might say the truth of the matter is, and I saw it. I remember I did this for a living. Mm-hmm. They throw up these walls of defenses when it comes to their hair because they got some other stuff going on. Great. Okay. So I'm going to play a video where this person is giving her take. Okay. To your point, Theo, I like what you said. We're not competing with ignorance. Thank you for helping me out because that was bothering me. So we got a couple of nuggets here in the chat tonight. Okay. But aside from Theo, thank you for that. I'm going to play this clip, and this person is giving her take on another angle on the problem that Black women really having with their hair. Here we go.
A natural hair truth that's hard to swallow is that saying something texturist or exhibiting internalized texturist behavior and then hiding behind the reasonings of, well, society this or my family that, is nothing short of defense mechanisms. A lot of y'all like to hide behind defense mechanisms to void yourselves of accountability for your actions. Because while defense mechanisms are in place to protect an individual from outside factors and themselves, doesn't mean people don't abuse them. Because if you're acknowledging that your behavior and actions are texturist, acknowledging where it stems from, but still continuing to partake in texturist language, behavior, and actions, simply shows that you're using that defense mechanism as a void accountability shield. And that's because a lot of y'all know that once you mention these reasonings, the conversation simply ends until the next time you slip up. But what do I know? It could just be a joke.
I thought that was very powerful. I hope y'all heard that loud and clear. I had tried to have it turned up as loud as that's as loud as it can go. Did you take some notes on what she said? Would you guys like for me to play that one more again, Cheryl, just so you can just because she said some things that I do see. I can relate to some of the stuff that she was saying that we see in the hair salon, where people will use these defense mechanisms as an excuse to just not do their hair. You know, the number one is that I paid you. You know, I got a protective hairstyle that's supposed to last for 3 to 4 weeks. And y'all coming in here telling me I got to comb my damn hair. What's up with y'all? How is a clinician going to help deal with the customer who believes in their heart of all hearts that me putting this weave on my hair is somehow protecting it? And I'm not saying I'm just putting up the scenario, okay? And these are truths that these customers are doing some of what she's saying. They're throwing up these walls of defense to avoid the reality that the hair must be maintained. So help out with that. What going back to Trisha's statement, what would that clinician do that a cosmetologist can't do with that scenario?
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. At this point, at that particular point, because she is dealing with, and I'm talking about the video, she is dealing with behavioral responses. Okay. Behavioral instability, insecurities, inadequacies can be connected to other issues. However, the psychologist cannot teach a cosmetologist to get them back into their cosmetic process. They can probably deal with what they're hiding.
Okay.
What you're hiding behind. Why, and all of the other fear-based defense mechanisms. But there is a that they can do that, but I'm uncomfortable with them teaching cosmetologists to do that, and then cosmetologists don't learn how to hair coach. Because I need to hair coach you just like a coach has a basketball player that is having an off night with the shoot game. He can't get, or she can't get to drop that 3-point shot because there's something going on maybe in her game and her technique or her approach or something that happened before. And we can all have that conversation. The psychologist can say, oh, well, you're having issues because you and your wife is fighting or whatever the case may be. But they can't teach the coach how to get the player out of the 3-point slump. And that's the difference between a hair coach can actually get them out of the combing fears, lack of attention to themselves. They may get into the deeper issue of what they're hiding, but that's of no consequence for a hairstylist, just because we know that, okay, so your mother and you are having issues. You're still going to have hair issues.
You still got to comb your head.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, therein lies the problem.
And that, is anybody understanding what we're saying? Hit the thumbs up button. It is that right there that Cheryl just said that I can't repeat it because I didn't say it. But replay it again to hear what she just said. That is truly the biggest concern that I have about any clinician going around selling a course to help you utilize some of their techniques or some of their glossary terms or whatever. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't even, once I heard I say I ain't gonna even listen to it because I'm gonna get in that chat and say something and I'm gonna get the page shut down. You know what I'm saying? But I have to say that is a big concern, okay, of what you just said. At the end of the day, can that clinician get that person to comb their hair? Do they understand all of that hair knowledge that Esther was talking about?
They believe they can because they know a little knowledge.
Oh, they're smarter than us. Oh, I forgot.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being mean.
No, they may have gone to get a boutique license, natural hair license, or something like that. And here, once again, what is really sad about where the industry has ended up is because this is the Kruger-Dunning effect. That's the whole.
Let me pull up the Kruger-Dunning effect. Keep talking. I got that.
Okay. And that's the problem. They think they learn one little level of thing and then they broad stroke it and start making it up as they go because they've learned just some entry level. And then they have this ability to be charismatic, or they're using a couple of big words, and then they got the white coat, and then they got doctor at the front of their name. It can get quite sexy, right? And it can get, and they can razzle and dazzle. The issue is that the cosmetologist is going to give them much more tactile and practical application to allow the anxiety to ease, okay, and to see and to practice. Because, sometimes I had them go in there, wash their hair back, go through the blow drying, do whatever it is that I did, because they just need more confidence and they need to have something that they can feel glamorous and wonderful waking up in the next day so they can present themselves to the world and go to work and be fabulous as they want to be. That takes practice when you haven't done it in a while, right? And so the coach that does a basketball player or a football player, they give them what we call body knowledge, hand knowledge, how it's more of an orientation of a do's and don'ts. You know how when a person gives you a fact track and they say, I need you to come to orientation, that's not knowledge. It is real 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 skills to be able to be applied each day, and you'll get better at it. You encourage them. That's what a coach does. It encourages you and reinforces the inner dialogue, makes it calm and kind of, and gives them confidence. But back to Leslie's question or comment. And she's asking us as if, wow, stylists are doing this, No, they're not, as a large collective. But what we hope is that now that there's a level of concern, Leslie, because the natural hair care community is coming back into the professional setting. And then the ones who advocated and defected away from cosmetology in the early Y2K season, now they are getting the license because they now want to have some elevated kind of practice, and they want some kind of professional interaction with natural hair clients. So they want to give them an elevated experience. The problem is that Afro hair science was never taught to any of them.
And that's the thing. As a matter of fact, we would be remiss if we did not share with you guys that the natural hair community for approximately very close to 25 years have had really staunch support of the Institute for Justice, who traveled the world. Well, they didn't travel. They actually was in just about every state, winning every case after case after case that natural hairstylists, number one, they didn't need a license. And a license also translated into no education. Though they argue it didn't, they could not demonstrate where they were getting any education. Cheryl and I, we went to Atlanta, where we saw this take place. And so we now see this exploitation of people who knows that this new niche, because the natural hairstyling license is a niche, or as they call it, a boutique permit. It's not even a license, it's a permit. Now remember, they didn't want any government regulating them, but here's this permit.
And they're quite proud of deregulating within the
Yeah, they were very proud, but like Cheryl said, now they're in New York. New York had the highest amount of hours to receive a natural hairstylist boutique permit, right? Was 500, and they took it down to what? I think it's 30.
Yeah.
And so now they have a whole consortium where they're like, please help us get this education. And this is why this topic of the psychosis of the natural hair community, these people they're literally out of touch with reality. I mean, for real. And then you got these people who are taking advantage, because they're not, when I say out of touch with reality, I don't mean like where we're at. I mean, with the reality of what a cosmetology education offers a licensed they're just out of sorts with this. And you have these mental health people who are saying, we're going to offer you something that maybe you didn't get in cosmetology school, maybe you didn't get in your boutique license training or education, and we're here to say, don't do that.
Yeah. Most people don't realize, how we were talking about this morning, right, that besides cosmetic surgeons, anybody who does any cosmetic work on your body, skin, ears, neck, remove moles, or whatever the case may be, they call themselves cosmetologists. That's what they call themselves. And so we have a very broad cavity of skill sets that are at our disposal. And I say that to say that while one particular faction of cosmetology, which I still call them natural hair stylists, you're part of cosmetology. It's, part of the universe there. But to 25 years later, be as lost and disconnected, and you use the word, Ladosha, out of touch. 25 years later, that's a whole generation. That's a whole generation. And to have the most fundamental issues like combing. I mean, and for all the hairstylists that maladjusted, and that is malpractice.
Thank you.
That's malpractice.
When we did the first Afro Hair Science Summit, I wrote out an oath, for us to say. They said, "Damn, that was too long. You should have warned us." But we have like a creed in the Afro Hair Science education of things that we won't do. You have no business teaching anybody with Afro hair to finger comb or get rid of a comb.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that is just.
And I understand.
That is malpractice. There's no other way to say it.
Well, go ahead.
No, finish that, because I want to go back to the Dunning-Kruger.
Oh, okay. Well, anytime a professional does something that is counterintuitive and counterproductive and antithetical to what they would normally do, and to just completely adjust it because it's the trend, my opinion, is malpractice. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where, and I don't know, Leslie Ann, if that's kind of where you were kind of thinking with that statement, is that I think because a lot of licensed professionals, they bought into the natural hair movement. They caved. They literally caved and it says, well, I'm not doing it. And they actually thought that not doing chemicals, not doing coloring, not doing all of those upsells would actually make their hair easier, their careers easier. They thought, oh, I can make a whole lot of money with locks. I can make a whole lot of money. I ain't got to be bothered with no chemicals no more. I don't need that knowledge anymore. I mean, and so they caved and they start using that misinformation, and now it's their money, and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Like, what do I do when Cheryl said water is the enemy of Afro hair? Dude, I've been using water I've got 25 years in, for 24 and a half years, or 24, and now I've been a year. I've been using water, and you're telling me that I can't use that much water on Afro hair? That, I gotta say it, that fucked me up. It did. I was hurt because that was my money. I have a granddaughter on the way at the time. I have a car note. I have people whose careers, I got staff to pay. I owe taxes. I mean, I got medical insurance. What do you mean no water? My heart was racing. I was having a panic attack because that was my money, but it didn't matter. It was still what? It was wrong. It was time to do something different that was better. So can you answer
yes, Esther's
question, and then I'm going to play just a little snippet on the Dunning-Kruger effect. So here we go, Esther.
Esther, you know, there's nothing wrong with your question, but I believe that let me just address it this way. The consultation, and I will admit that it may not be up to the level of you sitting before me, or because that's why we included in the Afro Hair Science Summit, and that's why we, anyone could contact me or Ladosha and get it, right? I will admit that, but what I will say is that the consultation never left the cosmetology. It never left the salon. It was told by natural hair care industry and practitioners and clinicians, and I'll be upfront with you in terms of the cult nature of natural hair care, that somehow cosmetology was void. And so there was never an investigation. And there is the weaponizing of one or the other. The consultation has always been there. There's always been good consultants in salons. Not all of them, and not enough. But the questions that I find that we get, well, but where do we do, and what do we do, and what do we do, once we are elevating and raising the bar? And I understand why you guys are asking the question like that, but just to lightly be able to address it, the consultant never left the cosmetology salon. Mm-hmm. And I do realize, but I'm going to give it to you and know that, no, we're not as where we need to be to even meet the demand of this conversation that we're having tonight.
Yeah, because this is a very tough. We're talking about the psychosis of the natural hair community. This is a very tough conversation to have because, like I said, we're competing with this misinformation, and Theo just pointed out, no, we're not. We have to stand on. We have to stand on our square. When you want to know where do you go to find cosmetologists who have skill sets that Cheryl is describing, right now the best thing you can do off the rip, you have to go with those Google reviews. Number one, if you don't know. Number two, you got to call the salon and ask.
And you don't necessarily need to be in the same city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't necessarily need to be, and it is nice to be one-on-one, because I actually sit you down and we actually have a long conversation. And I taught it to, to Sister Locks. I taught it to a lot of institutions. Mm-hmm. But I would agree with you, Esther. It's not enough. We've got to do better.
Yeah, and this is why we have this platform where we ask you guys, Week 8 is in the chat. The more, I know this sounds like a really begging, because it is, the more you guys engage with us, because we ain't got big budgets to be paying for no 20,000 hits and all of that. This is an authentic build, and the conversation is for those who are willing to go through the fucked up feelingness that I had. You know, I had to invest in the Afro hair science education. We actually come to the Beauty Under One Roof class that Cheryl's going to be hosting in September. Invest in your career so that you can learn and have these skill sets. We are not going to do it the same way. Of course, we're not merely suggesting that. I don't do it the way Cheryl do it, and I don't do it the way Yate don't do it the way, Torre or Theo. We all do it differently, but we do exist. So you can look for that. And then number 2, when you call the salon or the barbershop or the natural hair place or, your nail tech, all the professions, ask, do you offer the consultation? And if they don't, hang up the phone and just keep it moving. And then also good old fashioned word of mouth. That's always, going to help.
And also what you can do, I'm sorry, but what you can do, make sure if you do have a stylist, it's okay for that stylist to call me and share. That's how doctors get good. That's how nutritionists get good. That's how fitness trainers get good. They have people who they can bounce things off of. So they don't necessarily have to know everything, but if they get an additional person's point of view, right, and maybe they can go back in and ask you different questions so we can get a better consensus of exactly, because your visit is part diagnosis and prognosis, right? Right. And so it's not going to be in just maybe an hour or so. And maybe it is.
Yeah, it's a relationship. You're definitely going to be back and forth. Now, Trish says she was driving, but she says this in the chat. Now, what I was thinking a clinician could possibly be helpful is if you're dealing with a client who has they have a severe insecurity when it comes to them embracing the hair on their head. Maybe a clinician could help with that. What do you say to that statement? Thank you, Trish.
Yeah. They still are going to go in directions that they're accustomed to. That and I have worked with clients that have had severe distortions, right? But I think it's a relationship. I think it's in 2 parts. Because once I'm going to fix the problem where it's at, the clinician can prevent it from festering, not just in her hair, but festering in her diet or festering in bulimia. And see the same in self-mutilation. The trichomania, the constant pulling of the eyelashes and eyebrows, right? Or purging when you eat. All of that is the cosmetic body and how things fester. And so I can fix the adjustments. The problem is that the clinician is not going to ask the questions to get to the premise of it being insecure about the hair that's on their head. They may not get there, right? And so I have to be, and let me just say this. Maybe this client starts in my chair. I know her and we've been with him and we know him. So I lead, not the psychologist.
Yeah, because at some point, Trish, at that point, the cosmetologist would be referring out. I don't think that would be a good merging of mental health bullet points or aspects or whatever they want to call it to help this person who has this, what you say, severe insecurity.
Right, because the clinician will say it's something else. I need to be on the phone with that particular person and direct the visit. I'm directing the visit. I'm directing the line of questioning. I want to get to a place, because at the end of the day, if it's in a body cosmetic that comes under my jurisdiction as a profession, I want to make sure that I get that taken care of. And I can't randomly trust that the psychologist is going to get there.
Right, because when you listen to a lot of these psychologists who are because there are several. There's not just one. There are several of them who are entertaining and are actually in the process of approaching people in our industry to buy classes from them, to do online training with them, and all of this stuff. It kind of, and as Cheryl was giving you the example with Trisha's statement, it kind of goes back to me to that Dunning-Kruger effect. And so I'm just going to play a clip. And then if you could just kind of, as we wrap this up, kind of merge that back together with that, I think I know something, but I don't. So I'm going to make it up as I go along, and how education and hair coaching could actually help that cosmetologist. Because Theo was in the chat saying you do have to get more education on how to do a consultation, become a hair coach, which is true, but you don't need to be taking that additional training from a psychologist or a clinician in that aspect. I'm not saying they can't offer our people in our industry something, but that what they're talking about, merging that into a salon visit, absolutely unequivocally, that is out of order. So let's play this Dunning-Kruger. What do you call these things? Sizzles or reels or whatever. Let me just share this right quick.
Yes.
2024 is a record-breaking year for elections, with over 2 billion voters across 50 countries heading to the polls. To save you a lot of headache when dealing with political discourse, I need you to remember the Dunning-Kruger effect, which basically means the less informed someone is on a topic, the more confident they are that they are well informed in that area. Here's an example of that. A guy on Twitter recently posted saying he was confident with 6 months of prep, he could pass the bar exam, even though he's never taken any sort of law class in his life. Because he has no knowledge in the field of law, he assumes he can absorb all there is to know within 6 months. A student in their third year of law school is probably way less confident than this man, because after learning everything they have through years of studying the law, they're aware of how much there is to learn and how much they probably don't know yet, giving them more humility. All of that to say, people who are the loudest and most confident in their abilities are typically overestimating themselves because they don't know how much they don't know. 2024.
All right, there you have it. The Dunning-Kruger effect is, like Cheryl just said, you are you're pretending to act like you know more than what you really don't know. And I think in the instance of this whole ideal of merging certain concepts of clinical or psychology or whatever into a consultation or a salon visit is the epitome of the Dunning-Kruger effect, because they're making assumptions that they know none of what they are talking about. So can you just kind of merge that conversation about that Dunning-Kruger just a little bit more, and then take us into hair coaching?
Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that this industry struggles with confidence, with knowledge base, because it is so hands creative, it's style, it's flair. And so we do get a little uncomfortable with the knowledge portion of what we do. We don't get a lot of practice to speak. And so it's just like, remember, there was a video you did, right? And you showed us about dry scalp. And look how confident the answer was. Monostat. You need to use Monostat. The way she said it, as if that had some real connection to a fungus, right? And so, but it's the wow, oh my God, what? And it's that factor that keeps driving this kind of popularity, and then you get asked on podcasts, and then you get asked on panels, and then you get asked, and then you get addicted to it. Okay. And so in writing this handbook, right, in terms of clientele, is to give you a step-by-step. Hair coaching is to deal with the incident, the accident, the mishap, the condition, the disorder, where you are.
Right.
To coach you to solving your own problem. Okay? Because you know best. You have all the information that I'm asking you to give me. So we can have two heads. And because I have more experience, maybe my ears are trained. Maybe my eyes are trained in body language, or the where you put a pause, or some of the words you choose to use. And I have clues because I've done this over and over. Okay, so what? But the ultimate holder of the information is you, the client.
Yeah.
And so once we get accustomed to saying, hey, I'm not Michael Jordan, right? But I am his coach. I am, forgot his name, Phil Jackson. I am Phil Jackson, though. And I can bring the best out in that particular client at the time. Beautiful. Now, if I sense and if I feel that there is a deeper wound and an underlying issue that is going to fester in you hurting yourself, because I know that this may be even more painful and it's a little more detrimental than pulling out your hair and acting like it's not there and ignoring it by not combing it and letting it mat, right? And or cutting yourself, or you not eating properly and you're really destroying the very thing that you need to survive. And then I sense some Afro dysmorphia, right? And I sense that there's that. Then at that point, your hair coaching says, okay, he doesn't or she doesn't need technical skills and motivation, right? And she doesn't need any inspiration. Her aspirations are already there to do and to look wonderful, and she wants to look beautiful. But I think that there is, so I'm going to call another coach. Call another person in here to be able to get to a deeper issue that is going to prevent my work. Results in the recovery that I want for us to see together. And once that is disrupted, then the clinician is going to push her or him or the child a little further. And so we will get on the phone together and talk about your ass.
Right. That's the bomb.com. Now, licensed professionals, you guys have to love the way we kind of brought that together. But I'm going to use Frida's last statement, okay? Now, Frida, I know this is not what you really mean, but I'm going to say it because Cheryl and I talked about this on the phone. Because I said, here's the truth of the matter is, you're a clinician, right? You're a psychologist or whatever. Why are you coming into our industry trying to offer a class, to help us help our people? To your point, Frida, where your referrals at so that you can make money and build your own clientele? You need to be servicing people who need clinical help. You don't need to be coming into the world of cosmetology, natural hairstyling, barbering, braiding and coloring, and offering a course using some bullet points to help them do something that they already spent $25, $13, I don't know, thousands of dollars to learn in cosmetology school. Instead, come to the Afro Hair Science Summit, like Theo said. Where are you getting this knowledge from?
Absolutely. And I think that there is a connection. I do believe that the natural hair and cosmetology world should have and come together at the Beauty Under One Roof and make sure that our shows and our workshops are a lot more impactful. But I do know that we can invite them in. However, I want everyone to understand that if I was talking about the cosmos, you guys know that that's a very, 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 very gargantuan, uncomprehendable big place, right? And so cosmetology, fullness, has a very wide range of capacity. And when you're ready to elevate in your, well, maybe away from your locking and maybe away from your hair cutting, I've had many barbers who had carpal tunnel syndrome and they couldn't cut anymore, and so they went into other areas of the cosmetology and barbering field, right? And so we just want the proper steps because we're here to protect the consumer. I want the consumer's needs to be met, right? And I am choosing hair coaching as the metric yardstick in how to get them properly diagnosed with their hair, their Afro dysmorphia, their Afrophobia, their texturism, their, mischromanthropy, or whatever the case may be, I mean, and at the end of the day, their trichomania or any type of other, self-mutilating cosmetic thing that because we need to use the whole community, and you guys have the license to do it. Yeah. And lastly, and for us to not cannibalize ourselves, and I don't want anyone else to come doing bottom feeding into a place that we are trying to raise the level of service,
right,
and knowledge,
right. And I don't think that those clinicians who are efforting to help us
right,
are realizing the work that we're doing. I also don't think that they realize the population of people who actually work in the industry. A lot of cosmetologists and barbers and nail techs and they have their own mental health issues that need some addressing.
Yes, we do.
And some of that, and when
like any industry.
And this is why we asked you guys to get the book Styling Jim Crow, because believe it or not, there was a time, when you went to get your license, you had to be in good mental health standing. You had to be in good physical health. You had to be vaccinated. You had to be really A1 to be able to work into this line of work. Now, things have changed since then, but just so you guys can have that historical context that I think these people don't know. They probably never even heard of Styling Jim Crow.
And why would they be in look at the uniform from 1930, 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970. They were white uniform. They looked like nurses.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And there's many salons of their beauty palaces, pamper palaces. Rose Meadow Morgan was quite notorious in Harlem for having nurses and psychologists and to any little service you want to be beautiful and to feel balanced and aligned and connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
Esther says, I don't know. I think a lot of these people are scammers who know how to manipulate people into giving them money to help them solve issues they have no idea of how to solve. And I think you are absolutely right. And this is why we're having this podcast about the psychosis of the natural hair movement. We want you guys to partner. You are, like Cheryl said, you are in the arm or under the umbrella of cosmetology. You don't have to do that, guys. We have advanced courses within our industry to help you become a professional hair coach. We have a term for that. You don't have to do the psychotherapy. That is just, I mean, really. Can you get more urban fabulous than that's like going to a daycare and they say it's called Kitty's Daycare and they spell kitties Kiddiez, and their daycare Daykare. No, you don't want to start off a business when the mind is at 3 years old and just, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit out of here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're going to come back next week. We're going to find a actual clinician.
If you guys find them, email us. That email been floating across this damn board all week, all month, all year, all the last 2 years. Use it. Communicate with us.
Right. If you know of someone or you think you can handle this conversation, we want to have a part 2 because we do need to hear from the mental health community professionally. And I want to ask them, what do they think about this? How do they see it working? Because we gave our angle. In all fairness, it may be something that we're missing, like which I already came through and admitted. But I'm partial to my peoples. You know what I'm saying? I know how Kilolo is. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna try this again. Part 2 next week. We'll be back on Monday talking about celebrity hair care. Right? We're gonna be featuring Rihanna. We're gonna talk about Beyonce's. We're gonna talk about Tracy Ellis Ross and what do these celebrity products have to offer and how are they doing in today's world. So we appreciate you. Live, work, clean. You came through for us. Leslie Ann, it was so nice to have you in the chat. We appreciate your comments. And of course, Esther, all the Lawana, Maurice, thank you so much, Maurice, for coming through at the last minute. Like I said, this was a tough topic, but we needed to have it. And then last but not least, I have to remind everybody that the last Sunday of every month, we host the good old fashioned, because things are going pretty good here, the fete du jour, and it's going to happen at the lovely School of Cosmetology. So we're going to be at her place the last because it had I know, I just realized it wasn't the old one. It was the old one, not the new one. So we're going to be at her place, even though it's the wrong, we're going to be at her place at the end of the month. So we're going to be pushing that. So you'll see us on social media doing that a whole bunch.
Right?
Yes, the last Sunday of every month is we're hosting the fete du jour, which is French for day party. Also, guess what? Key Lala's in another article. I'm in Who, What, Where. I will drop the link in the chat. I'm giving big ups to Rev Air Hair Care Products and talking about why they are so good. So I will drop that link in the chat. Thank you again, Rev Air, for allowing me the opportunity to help spread the word like Thunderbird about the truth about hair. So we'll be back next week. And I think that's it. You guys did good. This was a tough topic, but we made it through. We survived. It was very good. You guys rocked it out. Okay. All right. You know what we say when we're signing out, right? Please don't forget, hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I see a lot of people did do that. Don't forget to share the content. If you know somebody like, ooh, y'all should have heard them. Ooh, heard what they were saying. Ladosha was saying some shit. Okay. All right. So we'll be back. So you know what we say when we're signing out, right? A whole lot of peace. Oh no, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is what? Best. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Welcome to Planet Pluto.